Hey guys, happy Friday. Our last social studies assignment for the week. It's also our last social scientist. Quick review. We had the social scientist of economics. The study of our economy is the way people in the community use their resources to meet their needs. Hint, hint, how do we spend our money and what do we buy? 2, the social sciences of geography. What kind of natural features are out there and human-made features are out there when you look out the window? What do you see? Okay, it also includes the climate or the weather. Thursday is the social science of political science. Who's in charge around here? Who's the president? Who's the mayor? Who makes the rules? Who enforces the rules? How do things work? And then today, the social science of history. You're checking for this worksheet. Remember, to find the pages to this book, you're going to Clever at the top of your screen, logging into Clever, then to TCI, and then to your textbook. You look for text pages, and we're on page 7. Worksheet for Friday, page 7. And then make sure you start with your whole name so we know whose is whose. Let's start with the definition, history. It's the study of the past. When you get in the car after school, well, not this year, your homework, and your parent says, hey, what'd you learn in school? And you said, today we learned this, this, and this. That's your parents acting like a historian. They're trying to figure what happened in the past. Let's read about it. Your class takes a field trip to the cemetery. Yuck. Your assignment is to make a rubbing of a tombstone and report on it to the class. When you read the tombstone, you think, I wonder how many people buried here were related to this person. Now, you are thinking like a historian. History is the study of the past. Human beings have been around for a very long time, so we have a lot of past to study. Historians, however, are most interested in the last few thousand years, which is when people began leaving written records. The first question historians ask is, what happened in the past? Ooh, you might want to use that question for your worksheet. What happened in the past? To find out, they study all kinds of artifacts, including records made by people of the past. Once historians know what happened, they ask other questions to help them interpret or understand, so that's the synonym for interpret, it just means to understand, the past, such as who took part in these events, how did these things happen, and why did they happen this way. Suppose you've been asked to write a history of your family. What artifacts would help you? Here are some examples. Alright, so we're working on our sheet for the examples. Everybody has one of these. If you ever want to play on an AAU team, you've got to provide your birth certificate. I'm alive. I have a birth certificate. The hospital gives you that to your parent when you're born. A birth certificate would be part of your history, too. How about some baby books? I'd love to see some baby books of you guys. That'd be awesome. I actually would be embarrassed to show you my baby pictures. I had the chubbiest cheeks you've ever seen in your entire life. You could barely see my eyeballs. That's how chubby my cheeks were. So your baby books would tell about your past. Number 3, family photos or photo albums. Maybe letters. Don't tell Mrs. Bauer, but I saved all the love letters that she wrote me in college. I know, way back then we didn't have cell phones yet, so we wrote each other letters, and I have a big, huge envelope of all the letters she ever wrote me. That's part of our history. Now, I don't know if you guys do this, but diaries are a great way to study the past. If you have some diaries, you can remember what you did years ago. And then the last one is family treasures. I have my great-grandfather's gold watch. It's beautiful. It's too big for me. It doesn't work, but I never throw it away because that's part of my past history. My great-grandfather wore it, then my grandfather, and then my dad, and now they gave it to me. And it sits in a box in my top dresser drawer, and I probably will never get fixed, and I'll probably give it to my kids, so they have to hang on to it, but it's part of our past. Okay, now they did this one for us. If you take a look at all the italic words here in our story, they actually have the questions we want there. Number 1, what happened in the past? Now, don't worry if you can't read mine. I'm saying it out loud. What happened in the past? 2, who took part? If you find an old photo album, you could find some pictures of who was at your last birthday party. Who took part at that party? 3, how did it happen? How did it happen? If you study a history book, you might find out, how did the Revolutionary War happen? The war when we fought against the British so that we could be a free country. How did it happen? Okay? All right, your assignment is come up with a couple other questions about the past. Okay, number 4, number 5 on your own. Now, guys, we're going to finish up this chapter next week with a few sections. These assignments that we've been doing will be the main portion that's on your test. So you got to be able to answer these questions. What does an economist do? What does a political scientist do? Remember, he asked who's in charge. What does a geographer do? What does the landforms look like? And what does a historian do? He studies the past. Okay? All right, guys. That's your Friday assignment. Make sure it goes back in your Friday folder. Double check to make sure your name's on there. And we'll see you next week.